Look, y'all, this is the only video you're going to need to teach your dog to crawl. Today I'm going to show you the best way to teach it, and it's a little bit unconventional, but it's going to get you better results. And that's what we're here for, right? Cute videos that we can post on Instagram and show our friends. I mean, the bonding and the mental stimulation that comes along with trick training and, all that good stuff too. So let's get started. Hi, I'm Laura from Doggy U, and I'm a certified guide dog mobility instructor, service dog trainer, and trick trainer who loves using tricks to build confidence and a greater bond with your dog. So let's go ahead and teach them how to crawl, shall we? First, let's set them up for success by making sure that you're using a carpet or other soft flooring like foam tiles. Many dogs won't want to drag their body across a hard surface, especially at first, which is totally understandable, and hard surfaces can also present traction issues. These little things that we do to set our dog up for success can seem minor, but they can make a huge difference in our dog feeling comfortable and happy to work with us. You'll also want to grab some pea-sized soft treats that your dog loves. No milk bones here. And if you're looking for some of my favorite shelf-stable treat options, check out the description below. Teaching the crawl. So there's 3 different ways to teach this. One is more of a prep activity that we're going to do first. And the second method is the traditional way of luring it that I'm going to show you as well, so that if it works for your dog, that's great. And finally, we're going to go with a little bit of a more nerdy option that I've been experimenting with. I really like this third method because it does the one thing the other 2 methods don't, and that's keeping the dog oriented towards the ground, meaning they break from the crawl much less. Because that's the problem that most people have. They break out of the crawl into the stand midway through the trick. So today I want to show you how to avoid that pitfall by shifting your dog's gaze downward, which naturally keeps them oriented towards the ground. A couple of notes. This behavior is physically taxing for your dog, so progress should be made slowly over several sessions. Training for just 1 to 2 minutes at a time is your best route to fast success. Remember, slow is fast in dog training. So let's get the dog warmed up and get to the good stuff. Method 1, warming up the crawl. We'll start by having them crawl under something low so that they get the muscle memory of how the physical body position works. I like to use climbs because I have them already, but you can use a coffee table, a chair, or whatever you have available. Just be sure that it won't fall on them or scare them. We're using a prop to help them develop a feel for the motion of the crawl, something they may have never done naturally before. You can start by luring them under, tossing a treat, or using a hand touch. It may help to start them in a down position right in front of the object they're crawling under. This step is really all about getting them comfortable using their body in this way. Method 2, traditional luring. With this method, you'll basically drag food across the ground for your dog to follow. Give your dog their down cue. Now take your cookie and put it in front of your dog's nose. Once they're on it like a magnet, even nibbling or licking it out of your hand, drag it an inch or 2 across the floor. When your dog follows the cookie in the down position, mark and release the cookie to your dog. As your dog gets the hang of it, you can increase the distance you're asking them to move. Remember to not be greedy yourself and to reward for tiny movements at first. As your dog gets better, alternate from shorter distances to longer distances and back to shorter distances of the crawl. Nobody likes when a task gets progressively harder each and every time, so throw some easy wins in there. If your dog stands up, you've pushed it just a little bit too far. Go back to a distance where your dog was previously successful and build slowly. This method is how many people teach the crawl, but I like to think of it as a prep step because it does take a lot of fading of the handler's hand, and it can be hard for some handlers to stay bent over for that long to teach the behavior. So I have a different way that I like a bit better. I teach them to crawl towards me using a nose to foot target. It also makes sure that their eyes are directed downward the whole time, which encourages them to maintain that down crawl position. All right, now that I've shown you the 2 traditional ways, let's do it my way. But before we get there, if you've enjoyed this video so far, let Coolip and I know by booping that like button. That lets us know that you want more trick tutorials like this one, so go ahead and boop it. We can wait. Method 3, nose to foot target. So there's 2 ways to do this. One is a little bit of a cheater way, but it works, so who cares? But if your dog has a nose target, you can use that. And it's a pretty elegant and fun option that doesn't require any fading of the lure. But no judgment either way. Do what works for you and your dog. I'll show you both. Okay, so we're gonna start by putting your dog in a down position. You're gonna line your foot up just slightly out of reach of your dog so they would have to stretch their neck out to touch your foot. Take a cookie and put it under your foot. Lift your toe up and let the dog eat the cookie. As soon as they touch your foot, mark and reward with your dog still in the down position. Do a few reps here with them just having to stretch their neck out to get the cookie. Next, position yourself just 3 to 6 inches back from your dog, so now they need to take a half crawl step to move forward. Put the cookie under your foot. Mark when they touch your foot and feed another cookie. Do this a few more times and back up. We want to progress slowly enough that your dog stays in the crawl position. This probably means a bit slower progress than you want at first, but our whole goal is for your dog to be successful. As your dog starts to understand, go back to being really close to your dog. Grab an air cookie or a fake treat from your treat pouch. Place that air cookie under your foot as you tip your toe up, and mark as soon as your dog starts crawling. Continue doing fake cookie for a few reps like this. Then start marking only when they touch your foot when you lift the toe. Slowly progress backwards until they can crawl across the room to your foot. Alternatively, if your dog has a nose touch to painter's tape, like if you've taken my service dog behavior interruptions and alerts class that has an extensive step-by-step guide to teaching a nose to flag target, you can skip the use of the cookie lure and progress this whole series more quickly by starting with them touching the target on your foot and then slowly moving back. You can even start with the flag touching your foot and then just a piece of painter's tape right on your shoe. As they get the hang of it, remove the painter's tape altogether and build distance. If at any point your dog stands up, ask them to down and repeat that rep. If they stand up twice in a row, you've progressed a bit too quickly. Take a step back in the training progression to where they've been successful in the past and build a little bit more slowly from there. A great way to increase distance is using the ping pong method, basically going from easy to harder, easy to harder. Nobody likes things to get harder every single time, so little wins can help keep the integrity of the crawl. Once you've got a dog that crawls when you lift your toe, you can decide to add the verbal cue of crawl or whatever other fun cue you might have. And if you do have a fun verbal cue for this behavior, put it down in the comments below. I love reading all of your creativity around coming up with different verbal cues for your dog. To add a verbal cue, we want to do the new cue, which is your verbal crawl, old cue, which is raising your toe, and then the dog does the behavior and we mark and reward. Remember that your mechanics as a trainer matter. So when we're adding a verbal cue, it's really important that we do the new cue, the verbal cue, then the old cue, so that the dog can focus on what you're saying verbally. When you do the two together, so for instance, if you said crawl and lifted your toe at the same time, the dog is always going to default to looking at your body and doing what your body says. And they don't have a chance to really learn that verbal cue. Because dogs are not verbal creatures, they're much more focused on body language. So when we want them to learn verbals, we have to really make a point to keep our mechanics solid. And that's it, y'all. If you enjoyed this video, then you'll really enjoy this video here on teaching your dog how to jump over your arms, often called the airplane trick. It's a super fancy one that's pretty easy for most dogs to learn and can be adapted to dogs of all sizes. So you can click on it here. You all have an awesome day and happy training.